What is the most common mistake that people tend to make when they approach marketing for their business?
I think as an entrepreneur and a business owner, sometimes we get so focused on running a business and we don't allocate budget to for marketing. And you're in the business to make sure you're attracting more consumers or more sales. And there is a formula of your budgets that you have to actually allocate to attract more business. And a lot of people don't create a budget line for marketing. And so that's a big miss. And you do have to have that budget line allocated at all time, regardless of where the tenure of your business is. That is a number. That's a 101 entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Um,
What is that kind of the budget thresholds? I talked to quite a few people on this where they think, oh, I'll just put 1% into marketing. And then you're like, well, if your competitors are putting 10, 20, 30, 40%, they're going to outcompete you. So what is kind of a healthy range that isn't going overboard, but is at least a healthy threshold?
I always suggest a 20%. If you can as a business, 15%, but you should really stick to 20%.
And is that gross sales?
Yes, it would be gross sales. Absolutely. And also identifying who your consumer is or who your client is. So a lot of people miss that mark. They think that it's a different type of consumer, but they're really not identifying the market or doing their due diligence to identify the marketplace, and their messaging is off and they're attracting the wrong client. And so really doing your market and knowing exactly your competitor. Every time you know who your competitor is, you are going to be able to understand what you're up against, how your pricing is, how it really understanding and doing your research first, going into the marketplace, knowing pricing and quality and service are really the key points to really driving a good marketing campaign. But research is so important, and also the what is your competitor delivering that you're not, and how do you make yourself so unique that you really stand out. So at Colibri Collective, we always want to be trendsetters, not trend followers, and that's what we pride ourselves in.
So this might be a bit of an ignorant question, Gabby. You'll have to grant me some leeway on this. So during the daytime, in the daylight, I'm a business consultant. I've seen many different businesses, their operations, their organization, how they operate. And one thing that's kind of I as we were prepping to hit record, I was talking about how I'm always been in awe of marketers because it just feels like business art. And I know that's a really kind of dumbed down version of marketing, I'm sure, but that's how I view it. My question for you is marketing sales? And I feel like I know the answer, but I asked this question because in the many organizations I've seen, a lot of people who I feel don't really know what marketing does will say it is. But I've heard a lot of people, especially in marketing divisions, who say it isn't. What's your perspective on that? Is marketing sales?
Well, marketing is the arch of marketing, and then you have advertising. So marketing falls, you have marketing, and then you have graphic design, and it's the arch of everything else. So you
Okay.
have so part of your marketing budget is like you have to have an advertising budget, you have to have graphic design budget.
I
So
see.
a marketer is part of everything else. It's the umbrella of everything. So as
I
marketers,
see.
and you go out to market, you go out to it's part of everything. It's the umbrella.
Mhm.
So we're a marketing advertising campaign. So we offer all the services under the marketing sun. That's what we say.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I have a few more ignorant marketing questions I'm going to get
They're
out of
not
the way
ignorant.
early.
They're amazing questions.
uh,
You know,
is print marketing dead? Do you take out ads in newspapers and magazines anymore? Is that valuable? That's
I always say that the print for our traditional households and Latino households is really important, especially some of the programs that we run and some of the more advocacy campaigns.
Hmm.
We really do include it in the mix of the media. Unfortunately, we're not the our print partners are not producing as many pieces as they used to. We would love to see that they would, because it print still is a tangible. It has a shelf life, and with our multi-generational households and Latino households, you see that it does touch more individuals. And we actually do include it in the mix when we're talking to people that we want to engage with. We want to educate them, and we want them to have something that is tangible. And again, we're talking about something that does have a shelf life. It is something that is costly because we're talking about paper. So our partners are not printing as many copies as they used to. So it's not as common as it used to be.
Okay.
You
So,
you mentioned
oh,
before, um, you mentioned really needing to understand who your customer is. I imagine when it comes to print, you want to make sure that the people that you're targeting are actually reading papers, or you're going to the right papers. The same is true, of course, of anything online or event driven, in person, things like that. What advice do you follow or do you give clients on how to properly identify who their true customer is? Because if you're gonna be saying you're just gonna spend 20% of your gross revenue, one, you want to make sure that you are targeting the right people so you can get the return on your investment on that.
So we always look at things from, the is it a consumer we're trying to reach? Are we trying to create an awareness campaign? What is the key performance indicators? Who is We help the client. Usually, most of our clients know who their target is, or we hone in. There could be there could be their key target, and there could be sub targets. So we really make sure that their core client is that the messaging is accurate to that campaign. And if they don't know who their client is, then we help them with research, and we try to like take a little bit of a step back and identify them. So for example, if if they're new to the market and they're we don't do a lot of consumer campaigns. We have a couple of consumer clients for and with when they come into the market, we try to give them like population, how many people are like Latinos, if there's a high concentration of Latinos in certain areas, hot zip codes where Latinos are at, where how much they're consuming in certain products, household incomes, average person per household. So we try to really help the clients understand if that potential of the marketplace. And then that's where we actually take that step back to see if this is a potential marketplace or how much money are they going to spend. So we do have a client that when they go into a new market, we identify how the density of Hispanics we have, and that's how we allocate the budgets for that particular market. We know who their core client is, and then we'll identify how we're going to reach them with what mediums, and then we'll allocate budgets based on it. So if it's a 28% high density Hispanic population, then we'll start budgeting based on that percentage.
You mentioned awareness campaigns, and I've always been curious on this. What is the true advantage and proper way to use an awareness campaign? And I guess if you could even step back and explain what that is compared to a different type of marketing that you might do.
So an awareness campaign is more like you want people to be aware of your business. You are not really, you're just asking them maybe to go to your website because we work so much in the digital space. You're asking them to just click on your ad. You're not telling them to really take a big action. um, when you're doing a sales acquisition or a funnel generating leads, you're asking them to take an action, and that's more generating more of you're being a little bit more you need to create create more enticement for them to take an action. So the action is for them to complete a task, not only just to visit the website, but to complete maybe a form to let you know that they're interested in either applying for a job, applying for a school enrollment. That's the type of campaigns that we run, or if they're interested in purchasing an item. And so those are more creating funnels on behalf of our clients, whether it's for a job or they're interested in their parents interested in enrolling their kids in school, or they're interested in purchasing an item. So we call those acquisition campaigns.
Hmm.
And those
So,
are in those you have to get them. You have to get make sure that the consumer or the journey is very different.
well, I understand in acquisition campaigns, it makes it a lot easier to measure. I put in $1 and I get $1.20 out of it or something like that. So I can go. But when it comes to awareness campaigns, how do you actually like measure the efficacy of them?
While you're just measuring them based on your website visits, there is no, the client is just trying to make sure that the public is aware or a certain segment of the population is aware of of your campaign, whether it's through a billboard. Radio is not measurable. We're not trying to get people to come into the storefront. We're we're just driving traffic to a website. So that's more of an awareness campaign where we're coming into the market. We want, or it's a teaser campaign. We're just letting people know that this new service is available. It's not something that you do show measurement, right? So measurement, if there was a move in the on the website from 1 month to the other, you could see that there has been movement on the web if there's an increase in traffic. So
Yeah,
that's how you measure it basically.
I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that because I have so many like uh, friends that are owners and founders, and they swear they would never buy a billboard or do these type of awareness campaigns because they don't trust them. And then I see other businesses and stuff that just do them all the time. And so I'm like, I don't necessarily have a good case for either or of like, are they worth doing or are they not worth doing? So I was just always curious on that.
We do them quite a bit. We complement billboards with radio, and then the big driver is then lead them to a website, and then we can see that they're working, and that's how we see that the awareness campaigns are working, because we're trying to promote a message that is broader than just what we're trying to promote on a billboard. So for example, right now we're working on a climate justice campaign, and we're talking about how climate change is just a very simple message on climate justice, and we're putting the website, the domain, and we're going to measure it based on how many hits we're going to have on the website. And then the radio is also going to have its own component, and it's an awareness campaign that's going to lead up to an electoral campaign. So it's just an awareness of how climate justice now is taking over people's lives, and we need to be aware of what's happening in our space.
Perfect. Could you share the mission and vision behind the Colibri Collective? And so I want to start moving into the discussion about the Colibri Collective, but real quick, could you the mission and vision behind it? What are you hoping to garner? Because I believe um, the Colibri Collective is 7 years old.
It's seven.
About 7 years.
Yes.
Congratulations, that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
It's very cool. But what's the impetus behind it? What are you hoping to achieve with this?
Well, when I first had the vision, I started working on my business plan, and I really had the vision to go into a space to be the first Latina here in Arizona to take up the space of having a digital firm. And I was able to create that, and from there, we started with digital, but our clients really wanted more from us. Having the background of being a sales manager for radios for three radio stations, and then being a general manager for TV and working for cable as well, and knowing digital. And then my sister joined me shortly after. We had a lot of different talents, not just the digital, and our clients just saw that talent and they just asked us to do media buying, to do more design work. And we, I knew that it was going to be compelling work. And I always, with my previous roles, I always found a way to do something good. And even if it was corporate clients, there was some type of cause marketing. It was some passion of mine that I always found a twist to create campaigns that did something for the community, whether it was a water safety program, whether it was a voting, get out to vote program, anything that really tied back to the community. And with Colibri, that path just automatically happened. Our clients, we picked up a huge client first. That was a literacy client, and really that's who gave us the big shot. And what they wanted was an agency that could handle everything from the ground up. They wanted translations, they wanted graphic design, they wanted media placement, public relations, uh, and production. And we were able to really take that project on and produce amazing work and really make a difference for literacy from ages 0 to um, and up. And it was basically to reach parents that had kids in infancy age to start speaking to their children thoroughly instead of doing baby talk, because the development of a brain starts when the child is born. And what we're having here is a lot of issues with our literacy rates in Arizona. We're 48th in the nation in education, and we wanted to make an impact in literacy. So Latinos, and it was a Spanish campaign, and we wanted to make an impact. So we fell into that. We then started working with advocacy clients on getting registration, voting registration up, electoral work. We we started working with many nonprofits in different spaces, immigration rights, you know, um, anything that has to do with communities of color and women's rights. So it was just a natural path, and it was amazing to be. It's still amazing, and it fills my cup every day because it's work that makes impact and it feels good. And we have amazing clients who challenge us and give us so much creative liberty. And we also work with public education clients. And in Arizona, we have a lot of charter schools, and it's really hard. There's a lot of competition, and we have the privilege to work with education with public education clients who we help with enrollment. And we also do anything. We do everything from creative to their merchandise, and they challenge us, and we do beautiful work on their behalf. And it's a great space to be in when you're running a marketing firm, and we have an amazing team that is able to deliver quality work.
Well, I love that. Thank you. Now, real quick, you kind of hit on it. What what are some of the unique challenges or opportunities you've encountered when working with communities of color or Latinos? What are some of those unique situations, either pros or cons, that you've encountered since you've been working in the Colibri Collective and focusing on this group?
Well, I would tell you that it's not an easy space to work in, and we do a lot of electoral work, and we're not boots on the ground always in DC, and so we're in the Southwest, and so that also is something that and I'm a woman of color, and sometimes the work is given to men that are not, that are not men of color. And so we don't have that advantage, right? We have to fight harder for the dollars. We are in the Southwest primarily, and we have to and then we're doing work primarily with voters of color. So the dollars are not as robust, and those could be challenges. Dollars come in late, so we have to work really fast and we have to turn those dollars around. We also work on the Democratic side, so the Democratic side doesn't get the dollars that the other side gets. So but we do the work that we can, and the challenges that we come across is right now we are working with anything that comes across with abortion rights and women reproductive rights. And so that's a really hard and tough issue to work with. But it's important for us to work in that space because as a woman, one, we want to make sure that our future generations have those rights, and that and that people could make decisions on behalf of their own bodies. So it's different to work in that space, but it's important to lead in that space. Also, I just recently purchased a building a year ago, and I was able to get financing through the SBA, and they say 1 out of 7 people of color are actually financed through the SBA, and that is a pretty
Hmm.
big gap.
Wow.
And
One of every 7 who are funded through the SBA are women of color. Did you say?
people of color.
Just people in color. Wow, really? Okay, that's a big. I would have never guessed that statistic. That's powerful. Wow.
And so creating another dream of mine was to purchase a building, and I was able to do that. And I think that's where I want to be able to be a bigger voice, that you could create a business and also purchase a building to continue to do the amazing work.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. I mean, it was a challenge, but I was able to to do that. And it is that's why also the hummingbird is something that I was very intentional when I created the vision of the business. I didn't want it to have my last name. I didn't want it to be anything other than something that was it started with a vision. And the hummingbird has a lot of significance to the work, to the to a lot of the what it means to me, and I wanted to resemble of the team. So a hummingbird has the biggest heart proportionate to its body, and the work that we do leads with our hearts. It also is colorful, and our work comes out colorful. It's bright, colorful, and even if it's electoral work, we always stand out from the crowd. And then it moves pretty. Hummingbirds move really quickly, and our the work we do is we move in every direction on behalf of our clients. It also is not afraid to tackle on hawks, so we are not afraid to take on big jobs. So I really thought about what I wanted it to the significance of what a hummingbird means. And so
Yeah.
it really does embody what I am as a person, as a leader, and I wanted to also have it embody the work and the team. And that's why the hummingbird always comes up as something that is really important to everything that we are.
I love that intentionality. Very cool.
So one of the most difficult things you can do in marketing is try to educate the audience rather than just sell basically a pain pill equivalent to their issue. What challenges, or I should say, what are the strategies that you have found successful in the work that you have been doing, which is fully building awareness of an issue, getting people to understand it and respond to it? What tactics, approaches are you doing that you find successful that other people, if they're trying to more educate an audience to whatever their product or service or cause is, that they can, I don't know, get more results, I should say?
I would just say that we need to take a step back and stop being so salesy and just be consultants and listen. When somebody approaches you, you don't want to be sold,
Hmm.
and we never want to be sold, right? And knowing that I had, when I started the business, I had 17 years of being in sales. Regardless, I was in, I came from a sales marketing background. I never really felt I was in sales. I was always like an extension of a team. And when you approach yourself as an extension of a team with your clients and you build that trust, it's going to be really easy to be that trusted member of an extension of another firm. And listening is so important, and understanding that they're they don't have time, your clients don't have time to create their campaigns. They're coming to you to find a solution. And if you just listen to their pain points and you approach them with the solution, you are going to be that trusted partner, and you will make sure they'll make sure that you will continue that partnership throughout the course of the years. And if you also think of outside the box and not your traditional way of thinking, there's we are all consumers of media. We consume, our attention spans are very limited nowadays. How are you going to grasp somebody's attention in 7 seconds now? Because they used to be 30 seconds. Remember, we used to be in the 30-second world. There used to be 60 seconds. Now we're talking 7 seconds. So we have to really be on top of what is the change of the consumer nowadays, and how are we going to take that attention and really think outside the box on behalf of our clients and really measure the campaigns and talk about the results. I think transparency is also key in the digital space right now. You are seeing a lot of different ways to report on digital, and I am really surprised of what comes across sometimes our desk on reporting. And then we've never stopped reporting the same way that we started reporting from day one, no matter our growth. And that's why we still have the same clients, because of our reporting and our transparency. And I think when you have integrity and your word is golden, you will make sure your clients will make sure they stick by you.
Yeah, so if I understand right, I mean, it's truly understanding the problem that you're using to solve and
Mhm.
understanding how that relates to whomever you're trying to target as your audience. But there's still often a challenge of educating them that it's truly an issue, because if it's not on their radar, if they're not in the kind of that quote unquote buy window where they kind of feel that need, like my car is broke down, I need to get it fixed, or my car died, I need a new car. They just happen to be, not even thinking about their
Mm.
vehicle metaphorically. What have you found to be successful? Because that's one of the challenges I've always been thinking about, is like, how do I build, not just awareness, but educate people in those media materials, all those things, to get them to actually care and want.
I find it most successful is asking your own clients if they have anybody else that you could talk to. Referrals are the best way to enhance your client list. And also self promotion is when you have an opportunity to share good practices on or good tips on your own feeds. That's how you could actually, when you become like a good I'm trying to think, when you become when you share your expertise and you're not afraid to go out and share your expertise in public facing platforms, people will gravitate towards you too. So you have to also self promote yourself. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people forget, that no matter the face of your or no matter the face of the company, you can't stop promoting yourself. You have to continue to be subject expert. You have to show that you're a subject expert, show your case studies, and really show that, and promote yourself and show your strengths, and use your referrals, use your own network, and then go out and talk about yourself. Speak at different, you know, be a speaker. I think right now what you're doing for me is incredible. I'm sure it opens up another opportunity for me to engage a whole different audience. This is exactly, Tanner, you answered your own question. I think this is a great opportunity for people to share, best practices on how to create, create good content. Also, my team also helps me with my LinkedIn. Uh, they help me. I have an amazing team, so I'm privileged, right? Because I have a team. But when I didn't have a team, I would go out to other networking opportunities, ask my own clients, do you have anybody else that I could talk to? Because I needed to expand the business. I have, we have liabilities, we have employees, we have, we have to grow. And so that's been probably the best way that I've been able to grow the business from referrals.
Kind of a, let's say, a flip on that question. um, Whether it was 7 years ago when you started or whenever. Can you think of a time when you or your team combined faced a major challenge in moving your company forward, getting your office building, whatever the scenario is? Can you think of a major challenge, an obstacle that you had to overcome to get where you are today?
Well, I think that COVID was really hard for us, in not in generating sales. It was just hard to work with each other. We had to work remotely. We now all pretty much 95% of the team works here in office, because we pride ourselves on collaboration. But it was really hard to get people excited. I think that the spirit of COVID was just really hard for a lot of people. It hit them hard. We have to understand that not everybody had the privileges of having a big office. There was people that were, were restricted in space. Also mentally, it hit people harder. And so that was really hard to do check-ins for everybody, everyday meetings. How do we get the output of the work the same? I think that was really challenging for us to be able to do a whole year like that. Eventually, we started bringing in one person at a time. We were still we had this office, but we could only have my sister, who is my VP, and myself here, and then we had another graphic designer who's my nephew. Because we were all, we were all together. But other than that, it was really hard. I would say COVID was, and I understand that a lot of people had it very difficult. So I would, as a leader, to motivate the team, I found it very, it was a pretty different stage. And when I started the business on my own, I would say that was a very, very difficult start for me. I didn't secure business for a while. And I started the business from really zero. I didn't have an investor. And that was another tough, to really, like, when I said know who you're going after, I thought all my clients from my corporate world were going to follow me. I only had one.
Mhm.
And it wasn't an overnight thing. It took months. So you have to think about that you messaging shifted a lot of things. The brand always stayed on intact, but it was not an easy task. This was not an overnight success. It took, and I was taking contracts that now I look back and I say, oh my gosh, I took these. My pricing was so off. But it takes a while to find your formula. This I am still learning at 7 years. I still make mistakes. I learn every day something new. And I love to own it, because when you own it, you can learn more from it.
Yeah, everyone thinks that it's gonna just all come together right when they put it together. It's like, I'm gonna go out on my own. I'm gonna start this company, and of course, I'm amazing. Everyone's gonna swarm to me, and then you just don't realize how much time that it truly does take. And it feels like at the beginning, time feels very slow, but then it just all rushes past you very, very quickly. Where you're like, well, there was a there was a week, there's a month, quarter,
Mhm.
eventually the year is gone.
It
Um,
was, yeah, it was the scariest, and it was the scariest decision I've ever made, but it was the best decision I could have made in my entire life.
what do you feel was the turning point for you where you got kind of out of that initial zone and then you feel like you actually like launched?
When I had one of my clients who I helped so much when I was in radio, when he said, "I'm going to give you a shot and I'm just going to help you for a little bit, just so you could get started." And I always remember him. And he let me do his media buying for 3 months. And it's just, he helped me just like as much as I helped him when, I mean, he's a pretty big time client now. And you never know who's going to lift you up.
Mhm.
Yeah. So because you did great work before, you were able to carry that relationship over. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that has been continuously drilled into my own head is, pardon my language, if you do half-assed work, you're going to get half-assed, uh, outputs or responses. But
Mhm.
putting the effort up front, even when you're working for a previous company, doing, radio work, all of that, you your passion and skill set were on show there, and he didn't forget that, right? And I think that that can be translated to so many other things outside of starting a marketing firm, for example. Anything, people who want to go out into consulting, who want to do other things, you kind of have to live and die by your work, right? Your
Mhm.
work has to show, and you have to show up on time, because there's always going to be a bigger firm who has more employees or more software and can do all of these amazing things, but you've got to shine through somehow, right? Perfect. So
Absolutely. That's a great way
yeah,
to point it out, Wyatt. I love how you stated that.
oh, thank you. So Gabby, what are your future goals for the Colibri Collective? I hate to be so cliche about where do you see yourself in 5 years, but I love to know where people started, where they are today, and then where they want to be in the future. I find that fascinating. So, what's in the future for you?
What I'm trying to really, right now, I'm trying to navigate and understand is where our current workforce is at. We have people right out of college, then we have people that are in their 30s, then we have people like are in their 40s, like myself, and then a little bit older. So I'm trying to figure out how do we build a model that works for all of us so we could continue to get excited about the work. We have a lot of people that just we have the current state of the state in the work just across the board in the nation is we there's sentiments about the workforce as employers, what motivates our current leaders. There's some people that don't want to be leaders. There's some people that want to grow. So just really understanding that we have interns. I always want to know what other kind of incentives do we provide as a company, and really honing in on the workplace. I don't plan to work my entire life, and that's what I really want to find out a good model for that works for all our team members. And we already have profit sharing. We have 14 paid holidays. I try to really look at the landscape of what else can, for retainment purposes, what else can we do? How do we build more leaders? And understanding that nobody stays in one place forever. And there's this career hopping for bigger salaries, and that's really a thing. I've seen it, and so just really making sure that I could retain, equip, and really create a good retention program. That's really what I'm focusing on right now, is creating this team that wants to be at Colibri, and really identifying what are those triggers, what are those things that keep people in place and get them excited.
I really like how you worded that, because employee retention is huge. It's key. It has to be. I completely understand where you're coming from. But you could have just said keeping employees so they don't quit for a bigger job, but instead you approached it from a very humanistic standpoint about investing in your people and your teams, making yourself a better leader so that your team gets value out of that. And I really love how you phrased that, because everyone wants employee retention. It's expensive to lose employees, it's expensive to procure new ones. Everyone has that problem. But the way you're approaching it, I think, is such a human way. You're investing in yourself as a leader. You're investing as your team members as valued employees and people that you care for. And I I'm not a fortune teller, but I think you're headed down the right path that by approaching retention by treating them like human beings. So well done.
So, quick little thought experiment for you. Let's say that you have someone approaching you as a client that's starting completely as a blank slate. They're at the ground floor. They don't have a brand. They don't have any marketing, but they're wanting to take whatever product or service and reach as many people as they can to grow their business. What are the steps or pieces of advice or things that they should focus on to actually get that accomplished and be successful in doing so?
I think with anything, you really have to have some kind of idea of what you want. If you don't have an idea what you want your brand to look for, you need. That's why you hire an expert like us. So what we do is we actually work with our clients to get them to start thinking of what the output would look like, or at least get them to, there has to be some attachment to the brand, right? So we work on exercises to get them thinking, if when we create your brand, what colors would you like to see? Have you seen a brand lately or a logo that you've been excited about that has nothing to do with your business? So what we try to recommend is think of down like 5 years. This is going to be a brand that's going to stay everlasting for 5 to 10 years, because you can be doing rebranding. It's a huge investment. And what is going to be the tone? How do you want it to sound to your customer or your client? How do you want to speak? And you have to have a mission and a vision. And then where, if you are going to advertise, where do you foresee this logo being placed? Do you ever foresee that you're going to have a billboard? Because then we have to kind of see, what is it going to be? Are we going to create a simple logo? Or are we going to create something that, is too, if it's wordy, or, so we have to just really understand. We have to get them to think of, like, start thinking of like the future of the brand. And we are also wordsmither. I didn't say that. We also work with them to think of, if you can't think of your mission, just tell us those keywords. We will create your mission. We will create all of your pillars and your talking points. We create elevator pitches for our clients. So we will solve their problems if it's a blank canvas. We have created brands from the scratch. A new organization that just started, that basically that has come to us and says, we're a brand new organization. This is the impact that we're going to do. Can you do everything for us? From, again, elevator pitches to logo to website to brand, everything. So we just basically take that blank canvas and help them with mood boards, help them understand that this is what they will be looking at. And are they traditional logos? Once we start asking them what logos they like or other brands they like, then we start understanding what their styles are.
So if I understand right, the key thing to focus when you have nothing is what is your identity, what is your voice, and then of course it goes to like we talked about for like who are you truly there to serve. So it's
Hmm.
like who's your target customer, and then finding the best way to connect to them. Is that a good way to
Hmm.
summarize it all?
Yeah. That was perfect, Tanner.
Thank you.
I think I went around a little bit.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, wonderful. So, Gabby, could you maybe tell us and our audience where people can find you, and then also the Colibri Collaborative, where people can learn more? Because I think you've got a really fascinating mission. I think you're doing amazing work in a very tough demographic, and it could be the demographic or the resources headed to that demographic. But you've got some challenges. So you're doing an amazing job. So where could people learn more?
People could find us on www.thecolibri and you could find me on LinkedIn, Gaby Cardenas, and you could connect with me via, and then on Instagram, Colibri Collective, and then on Twitter, it's Colibri Agency, and we're available anytime you need anything from us. If you want to send us an email, we're at info@thecolibri Collective.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, Gabby, thank you so much for joining us. Learned a lot and really enjoyed meeting you and hearing your story, and really excited to follow along and see as you continue to knock it out of the park. And so thank you so much for joining us. And also thanks to everybody who made it to the very end of the video. We're getting those retention rates up, which I'm excited about, to make it to the final end. So if you did, make sure to drop a like and share this episode, and reach out to Gabby to let her know that you listened. And yeah, past that, we will see everybody next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Wyatt and Tanner.
Of
It was a
course.
pleasure to be here in this space.